Hello. Today I'll be talking about a very important concept in economics, which is purchasing power parity. We often hear that India is like the third largest economy or the fifth largest economy. So which one is true, right? So uh, uh, there are two ways of measuring GDP of countries. Okay, as you can see on your screen, I'll just go through the top 20 economies in the world in 2020 and just give you an idea of what exactly is purchasing power parity. So purchasing power parity is a very important thing. So as you can see here, there's you can compare countries with nominal GDP, which is just the gross domestic product in current prices and US dollars. So what that means is that they just compare US dollars of one country to the US dollars of another country, and that's it. But now the fact of the matter is that uh, the kind of things that you can do with $10 in America or in Canada, and the kind of things that you can do with $10 in India is just like vastly apart. Okay, like you can do many things in India with $10. Okay, you cannot do that many things in America or in Canada with $10. So that's how the GDP based on PPP takes into account all these things, which is like inflation rates, living expenses, how the currency fluctuates between US dollar and that country's currency, and things like that. So based on that, we can just see that you know I'll just go through the entire list of countries. First is the United States. So if you see for the US, the nominal GDP and purchasing PPP GDP is exactly the same, $21.44 trillion. Why is that? Because I mean, you're literally comparing US dollar to US dollar. So definitely that is going to just be the same. Now, why is every currency compared to the US dollar? Because US dollar is the reserve currency of the world. Okay. All the foreign reserves in the world are in US dollars. That's why everything is in US dollars. Just keep this in mind. I'll come back to this. I'll not go into the details of this, but I'll just give you an idea of what exactly is purchasing power parity. Now look at China. In China, nominal GDP is $14.14 trillion. Okay, so that's just like the amount of dollars, US dollars, that China has. But now in terms of purchasing power parity, China's GDP is $27.31 trillion, which is absolutely more than US's GDP, right? So if you can see, 21.44 is definitely less than 27.31 by almost $6 trillion, right? So China is already the world's largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. And to be honest, my opinion is that purchasing power parity is the only metric that matters, because I mean you cannot compare dollars with dollars. Okay, I mean the currency is not dollar in China; it's yuan. Okay, so yuan. You can do many things in China with say 10 yuan, but you cannot do that many things in the US with 10 yuan. So that's why this purchasing power parity really matters, because it tells you exactly the kind of lifestyle that you can enjoy in a country based on after taking into consideration all the factors. Now let's look at the third economy based on nominal terms, which is Japan. Now just look at this. Japan's nominal GDP is $5.15 trillion and its PPP GDP is $5.75 trillion. There's not that much difference. Why is that? Because it's a developed country. Okay, but Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities in the entire world. I think it's the most expensive. So that's why the nominal GDP and PPP GDP are not that far apart. Now look at US. US is exactly the same. China, there's a huge difference of around $14 trillion and $27 trillion, so almost double. Okay, like 14 times 2 is 28. So because China is a developing country. Now Japan, there is no difference at all. In Germany, you can see the nominal GDP is 3.86 trillion and PPP GDP is 4.44 trillion. So not that much difference, just around $1 trillion. Okay, not that much in. So I know $1 trillion is pretty big, but in the world economics, $1 trillion is, if you compare GDP of countries, it's not that big of a deal. Now look at India. Okay, many people just say that India is the fifth largest economy in the world after US, China, Japan, Germany, and after these four countries, India's number comes along. But India's nominal GDP is $2.94 trillion dollars, and the purchasing power GDP of India is $10.51 trillion dollars. So why is there so much difference of almost $8 trillion dollars? Okay. Why is there so much difference? Because the cost of living in India, in most parts of India, is very less as compared to the cost of living in most of the developed countries. That's why, like, the amount of things that you can do with $100 in India are way too high than amount of things that you can do with $100 in the US. So that's why the purchasing power parity, India is much higher. So if you compare all the countries so far that we have gone through, China is the largest country, largest economy in terms of purchasing power parity. Then comes US, which is almost $6 trillion lesser than China, and then we have the third largest economy is India. So India, that's what I just wanted to get out there, because whenever people say that India wants to become a $5 trillion economy, they are referring to the nominal GDP. A nominal GDP just compares dollars to dollars, and in my personal opinion, that's not a very good way of understanding the kind of lifestyle that a country provides. Okay, so to be honest, India is the third biggest economy right now, as I'm speaking to you right now, in terms of purchasing power parity. And now let's just look at some other countries so that you can get an idea of what exactly this nominal and PPP thing is. So now you have the United Kingdom. Okay, now look at this. UK nominal GDP is $2.83 trillion dollars, and PPP GDP is $3.04 trillion dollars. Not that big of a difference, just around point 1.14 trillion dollars difference. Why? Because again, UK is a developed country, cost of living is very high. Just look at London. Okay, I mean, it's just astronomical. The cost of living in London is very high. Now look at France. Nominal GDP is 2.71. GDP PPP is 2.96. Not that much of a difference. Again, Italy, nominal 1.99, PPP 2.40, almost 0.40% difference. Why is that? Because Italy is a low income country. It's in southern Europe, and that's why you can see so many deaths right now in Italy. So this is somewhat of a like $0.4 trillion dollars, because Italy is not a rich country. Brazil, now this is again interesting. Nominal GDP is 1.84 trillion and PPP GDP is 3.37 trillion, almost double. Okay, almost double. Why is that? Brazil is a developing country. It's a low income country. Okay, that's why the currency in Brazil is much more devalued as opposed to the US dollar. That's why you can do many things in Brazil with $10, and you cannot do that many things in the US with $10. Now come to Canada. This is the country that I'm living in right now. So in terms of nominal GDP, it's 1.73 trillion. PPP GDP is 1.84 trillion. Okay, so not that much of a difference, just 0.1. Why is that? Because if you compare US dollar to Canadian dollar, I think the current exchange rate is around 1.2 or 1.3, something like that. So that's why the PPP and nominal GDP are not that far apart. Now look at Russia, again a developing country. Okay, not a part of Western world. Nominal GDP is 1.64, PPP GDP is 4.21, almost double, right? More than double. So same thing applies to Russia as well. Look at South Korea, 1.63 trillion nominal, GDP PPP is 2.14 trillion. Not that much of a difference, almost 0.7, because South Korea used to be a developing country, now it's a developed country. Spain, 1.4 trillion nominal, 1.86 PPP. Again, 0.4% difference, 0.4 trillion difference, just like Italy. Australia, nominal GDP 1.838 trillion, GDP PPP is 1.32 trillion. Not that much of a difference between the two values. Mexico, nominal GDP 1.27 trillion, PPP GDP 2.57 trillion, almost double, right? So less than double. So again, because Mexico is a developing country. Then you have Indonesia, nominal 1.11 trillion, PPP GDP 3.50 trillion, almost triple. Just look at this. Okay, this all relates to how much the currency of the country is valued as opposed to the US dollar, because everything is in US dollar over here. Okay, all the values are in US dollar. That's why you cannot compare apples to oranges. Okay, you cannot just compare the cost of living in one country with the cost of living in another country by just saying that, okay, you earn these many dollars over here and you earn these many dollars over here. That's just not how the world works. Okay, when you go to buy something in Indonesia, they are not going to accept dollars. Okay, they are going to accept the local currency. Okay, so comparing dollars to dollars just doesn't make any sense. So now you have Netherlands. Nominal GDP is 902.36 billion now, so we have gone down to billions now, and now GDP PPP is 969.23 billion, not that much of a difference. Saudi, we have nominal 779.29 billion and GDP PPP is 1.86 trillion. So again, almost double. Again, the currency plays a big role in this. Turkey, again a developing country, nominal is 743.71, PPP GDP is 2.29 trillion, almost more than double. Okay, again because Turkey is a developing country. Switzerland, the last country in here, nominal is 715.36 billion and PPP is 548.48 billion. This is an extremely interesting case. Just look at this. Okay, nominal GDP is higher in Switzerland and PPP GDP is lower. How is that possible? Okay, why is that? Because Switzerland is extremely costly, and it's very, very costly to live in Switzerland. Okay, they accept euros, right? And in euros, if you look at the price of euro to dollar, euro already surpasses dollar. So the fact of the matter is that Switzerland is the only country on this list, okay, where the PPP GDP is lesser than the nominal GDP, which is pretty interesting, because just look at all the other countries. Okay, in every other country, PPP GDP always is higher or equal. In case of the US, it is equal because you're just comparing dollars to dollars. It is equal, but not in case of Switzerland. Okay, so which is not just which just goes on to tell you that Switzerland is very expensive place to live. Okay, if you have somebody living in Switzerland, just ask them how much they spend on their daily expenses. It's very, very costly to live in Switzerland. Okay, so I really wanted to get this out there because I see many people talking that US is the largest economy in the world, or India is the fifth largest economy in the world, but you are not comparing the right kind of things. Okay, that's all I wanted to say, because purchasing power parity is the right way of comparing things and not the nominal way of doing things, because in nominal you don't get anything out of just comparing dollars to dollars. So I just wanted to get this out there, and hope you like this video and you learned something new in this. Please like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts and comments, and see you next time. Thank you. Have a good